Hello everybody, welcome back to my television review series. Today we'll be discussing Narcos Season 1. And I love making YouTube videos that legitimately nobody watches except everybody stealing from me. But I'll give you my overall grade, my impressions, give you some plot synopsis and character development and major themes. So tired of this fucking shit, my life is so fucking terrible. No one gives a fuck, it's not their life. 8 billion animals on this fucking rock and no one gives a fuck about me. Narcos is an American-Colombian crime drama television series created and produced by Chris Brancato, Carlo Bernard, and Doug Miro. Set and filmed in Colombia, Season 1 and 2 are based on the story of drug kingpin Pablo Escobar, who became a billionaire through the production and distribution of cocaine. First episode was on August 28, 2015. There's a spin-off of Narcos Mexico. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, Pablo Escobar, a real historical character. Again, they give you this is based on some true events. Some things have been modified to add drama or something, or change names and stuff. So overall, thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought there's a little bit, it's kind of narrated a little bit by Steve Murphy, who's a DEA agent. They basically just go to just documents Pablo's upcoming comeuppance and going to Colombia to try to catch him. It's a pretty straightforward plot line with some good historical background and backing. Again, anything with real historical backing always gives it a little boost for me, just because it's kind of based in reality, and so the writing is just more attenuating to real historical events. So I like the history aspect. The good crime drama was good. The violence was good. The plot development was good. The only thing I didn't really like was, again, just the translations of Spanish to English. Again, I'd probably say I'm 95% fluent in Spanish, meaning I can understand every single word out of their mouth. Again, my listening comprehension is 100%, but if there's just an order of syllables I don't understand, I'm going to refer to the subtitles. But then again, when you see the subtitles and they say 6 syllables and there's like 15 words up there, it's like we're adding in more than they're actually saying. So again, that's just in general. It doesn't take away from the entertainment value of the show. So thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an A-. Good crime drama, good historical relevance, plot developed well, characterization was done well. I like the narration, I think it was convincing, good show. So highly recommend it. If you have not watched Narcos Season 1, this was a big viral show. But definitely recommend it. So shut off this video if you have not seen the season and would like to. We'll be now discussing major plot synopsis and character development. So I didn't write down anything throughout the entire season. There was 10 episodes, 45 minutes to an hour apiece. So we'll just talk about some of the plot synopsis and character development. So at the beginning, you basically I think the opening scene is actually one of the American-backed raids in Colombia from the end of the season. But you basically start off, you meet Steve Murphy and Javier Peña, who are DEA agents. Javier is native Colombian. Steve is an American. So basically, Javier, I think, starts off in Colombia, and Steve Murphy's kind of fighting the drug game from, I think, Miami. He ends up going down to Colombia, and the whole season is really just trying to capture Pablo Escobar. So that's really the overall major plot development, and just, cat and mouse throughout the season. So he gets down there in Colombia. He has his wife, Connie Murphy. I don't know, they're young, probably early 30s, mid-30s. Javier is probably the same, 30 to 40 years old. They go down to Colombia and get Pablo's initial coming up. So he starts off, they have an initial, I think it's just called a kitchen, just like one cook, one grow. They have some documentation of when they're setting up whatever they're doing in the jungle, just like some laboratories in the jungle. And then a kitchen in Medellin or somewhere in Colombia. And so yeah, Medellin is Pablo. But there's this, so it's Narcos, so there's more also big drug kingpins. You have a guy named Pacho. You have a guy named Gotcha. I recognize that actor before, kind of a stocky Latin dude. Luis Guzman. I recognized him. But he's also a drug kingpin. You have the Ochoa brothers, which I'm familiar with them historically. But so they're all just, coming up in the drug game. Pablo's kind of like the head guy. but they're all just, running their own cartels, and it's mainly the Medellin cartel that they document. So they go down to Colombia. Pablo's pretty much behind the scenes, catching some bodies, killing some people, selling some drugs, they're your classics. And then nobody really knows who he is. And so after he gets a little traction behind his life in terms of being the drug kingpin, he pretty much decides that he wants to get into politics. So he kind of decides that he's going to run for the congressman. When he gets praised as the Paisa, I don't know, I think it's Robin Hood Paisa, I think is the word going off the top of my head, I don't have it written down. Because he has a good public rapport throughout at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of his career. And this is before people really knew that he was a drug trafficker. And so he's very wealthy at this point. Again, is coming up in the show as a couple seeds, and then he's really wealthy, at the height of his career. And so he's running for Congress, and right when he initially goes in there, there's a senator dude who basically just calls him out right off the get-go. Most people don't know who he is. People do know who he is, are afraid to talk because he'll kill them. But this congressman stands up for him and is like, basically, get out of Congress. You have nothing to do here. So on his first day in Congress, Pablo gets kicked out of Congress. So he's not doing too good with the political campaign, and then obviously has that dude whacked. So that dude's gone pretty quick. There's another mayor or a president that runs, I forget his name. And again, I can't see all the names on the Google Cast list because that would make way too much sense. But another kind of dude runs for president, and basically the thing that Pablo wants to influence the biggest throughout the season is extradition. Basically, when these narcos they want to be left alone by all the governments, but if they get extradited to the United States, then they can't escape from prison, pay people off, stuff like that. So that's really his motivation for trying to run for congressman or for the president. He aspires to be the president. You meet who is it? Valeria Velez, just a reporter. Pablo is married to Tata, but he's sleeping around with Valeria. She is a news reporter, good-looking lady. Wife's good, the actress is a good-looking lady as well. But so Pablo kind of feeds Valeria just like the locations of like the bodies. It's like she's a reporter, and they don't have any notice. But whenever there's another reporter, Elisa Alvarez, and she shows up, she's always like, how do you know about all these bodies if you're not fucking Pablo? And so that's what's kind of going on there. Elisa, she gets kidnapped. That's kind of later on, but he gets kicked out of Congress and has the congressman who stood up to him executed. There was another dude running for president, and he's strongly for extradition, and he gets whacked. So after that guy dies, pretty much the president of Colombia throughout the season is where's that guy's name? Gustavo Gaviria. Sorry, I think Pablo's full name is like Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. So it's like kind of the same name, I guess. I think Gustavo Gaviria. No, that might be his cousin. Pablo's right-hand man is his cousin Gustavo. So Cesar Gaviria is the president throughout the season. So he gets stuck with the president, and throughout the season he kind of, he wants to kind of attenuate to Pablo, because at this point Pablo, in addition to killing the congressman, he's just having full-out war. He's got bounties on police officers. He's got having politicians being blown up. He's having family members being killed. So he's really causing some carnage in Medellin. And so Cesar Gaviria is kind of like walking the tightrope between not giving in to terrorism, narco-terrorism, not wanting Colombia to become a narco state, but also not wanting a full-out war just for civilians getting blown up on corners. So they go back and forth a lot about that. Elisa Alvarez, she gets abducted, and so basically Pablo has a bunch of people abducted. The daughter of one of the politicians the former president of Colombia gets abducted. I think that's actually her daughter's Elisa Alvarez. But basically she's able to give some public declarations as a newscaster to allow some hostages to be released. Elisa, does she get killed or does she live? Okay, not really sure what happens to her, but I think she gets released. But even before this, on the Narcos side, before they even start killing the people that want extradition, there's somebody else. One of the Ochoa brothers' daughter, one of the other Narcos gets one of their daughters gets kidnapped, and so I think by another narco group, and so Pablo basically has we're gonna kill the kidnappers, or killing the kidnappers type of name. And so I think that's kind of how he gets like respect amongst the other narcos, as being kind of like the leader of the organization, is getting one of the other narcos' daughters back from a kidnapping. So that happens, and then he kidnaps a bunch of reporters. Not really sure what resolves with that. But throughout the season, you kind of have some people, again, a lot of the other narcos are kind of iffy about Pablo just willy-nilly killing politicians and police officers, making their business a lot harder. And Gaviria is really wanting him to come in. So they go back and forth. Pablo's causing carnage. Gaviria wants them some sort of ceasefire or truce. And so they basically reach an agreement where Pablo is going to have build his own like private prison with his own guards, where no police officers can come within 2 miles, and he's going to get no extradition pushed through the Congress. So basically, the police, the government, and Pablo reach a deal, which is really just completely in Pablo's favor, and they just build like a resort type of fake prison. I forget what they called it, but for him and his sicarios, just shooters, hitmen. But what else happens? Gotcha, he gets killed. The Luis Guzman, he gets killed. Basically, throughout somewhere in the middle of the season, they raid his compound. They have a shootout with the colonels. I just have colonel of soldiers. I couldn't find the name. Again, cut off the names of the characters. But there's another major character who's like he's literally he works, again, Javier and Steve are with the DEA. Javier is Colombian, or at least Latin. You have the Colombian government, and then you have Colonel, who's just like a head of the special, I don't think it's special forces, but there's a special unit that just literally is hunting Pablo and the narco group. And so they do a lot of things. He's the ones that raids Gotcha, and then they end up killing, they kill basically his whole crew. His whole crew gets whacked. Him and his son are driving away. There's a helicopter machine gun spraying the car, kills the son, and then Gotcha comes out, just like shooting at willy-nilly at the helicopter, and they decide to kill him. So Gotcha's out of the game. Pablo agrees to surrender while he's in prison. He's still running operations, and the colonel of the soldiers catches Gustavo Gaviria. Sorry, switching languages always throws me with the syllability. But so Gustavo, Pablo's right-hand man, is sleeping with the Ochoa brothers' sisters, Marina Ochoa. And so, again, at this point, I think the DEA leverages Marina a little bit, but for whatever reason, whether she's in on it or not, I think it's inadvertently sets up Gustavo, but he gets arrested by the colonel of soldiers, and again, all of the Colombians soldiers have taken a ton of deaths in the soldiers, so they're also playing by the dirty rules. And so they torture Gustavo, who's absolutely defiant in giving any information about Pablo. So they beat him up, and then they kill him. So Gustavo, Pablo's right-hand man, is out of the game while is dead. While Pablo's in jail, he has 2 other people. I couldn't find their names, but 2 other people running his operations. He has them taxed. He taxes everybody while he's in jail at a substantial level. So there's some rumbling behind scenes that there may be a coup or just reorganization of the leadership of the narcos. And so, he has this truck running things in and out of prison. They get a camera. The DEA, law enforcement, gets a camera on the thing. The Colombian government allows, earlier in the season allows, U.S. planes to intercept telephone calls between the narcos, and they're initially against that. But Pablo suspects that the two people running his operations are stealing from him, so he kills them in this little prison thing that they're in. And so that brings a lot more heat. They get more information, or like the public in Colombia get more information. They have some pictures. And so there's a big news story run about the incident. So a lot more people, again, basically if he violates any part of the agreement, Pablo can get extradited to the United States. So they're trying to pin the two people that he does kill, and they're like, he's like the godfather for like one of the dude's kids that he kills. But kills the people running his operation and brings a lot more heat to the prison. And so from there, basically, the head of, what was this other guy's name? I'm trying to, like, for whatever reason, when they're the actors to the pictures, I can't figure out who's who. But there's a vice president of Colombia, and he goes down to the prison, Justia, Justice. But he's like the minister of justice. And he goes to the prison, is like trying to talk to get Pablo to come out peacefully. Obviously, Pablo just kidnaps him, and then the special forces of Colombia raid the compound. They kill basically most of the sicarios in there with him. He escapes, and this is kind of like the last scene of the season. But he escapes. And now, leading into season 2, well, they rescue the vice president, or the minister of justice, and Pablo escapes with some guys. So that's kind of like the end of the season. Again, I didn't write anything down. I'm sure I'm missing some things. Throughout the season, Connie Murphy, Steve's wife, she kind of volunteers in an orphanage. And she gets mixed up with Elise Alvarez. I think that's, Elisa Alvarez. She's either the reporter, or there's like a communist faction in the first couple episodes. So in addition to the Narcos, you also have the influence of communism historically weighing in on like the CIA. But the CIA doesn't really care too much about drug dealers, but they're really into finding communists. So there's a little communist faction in the beginning thing where Connie Murphy like helps hide I think that's the communist. So there's another girl that's a reporter, which I might have just mixed up the names. But so she doesn't know that she's like this communist chick. She helps her, and then when the DA, Steve and Javier, they both kind of know she's being hidden, but they're trying to help her. They get her to some orphanage, and she's kind of out of the picture, kind of in the middle of the season. So there's some plot development there. That's pretty much all that comes out of the communist kind of considerations for the show. Herrera, I think he's another narco dude. You have a bunch of other goons, sicarios, Blackie, the Lion, Poison, just doing other hitmen, enforcers, smaller, prominent roles in the show, but just doing cartel stuff. So that's really from the major plot developments I remember. There's another one where again there's a big shooting scene. I think which is like the first kind of episode we talked about. But basically, Steve Murphy intercepts one of these calls from Poison and has the Colombians backed by the U.S. hit this spot, and they just shoot everybody up. And they end up killing a civilian. So Pacho, who's one of the big narcos, he's got the pictures of that, so he's got some leverage against Steve and Javier, and he kind of brings that up to them at the end of the season, and nothing really has come out of it yet. Additionally, one of the Poison and some other dudes were going to execute. There's a big development where Pablo blows up a plane. So basically, he wants to assassinate Cesar Gaviria, and so he just recruits this dude. Basically, he tells him he's going to record a conversation on a plane, and it's a bomb. So he puts on this bomb, kills 120 plus innocent people, and the Cesar Gaviria was not even on the plane. So that's certainly a big development of again the turning of the sentiment of Pablo as this good helping person for the building houses for the poor and stuff, to killing 120 some odd civilians in a plane. And that's probably before like the all-out war against the police and the citizenship at this point in the show. So that's certainly a big plot development I kind of skipped over. Again, I just didn't write anything down. So anything else? When Poison and another dude are trying to go, they're going to go kill everybody that knows anything that Pablo's connected to anything with the plane. So they're tying up all the loose ends. They kill 2 women, and they're debating killing literally an infant child. And then Javier and Steve pull up, and so they have a shootout. Nobody really gets hit. But Steve kind of adopts, for the time being, Steve and Connie adopt a little Colombian girl. And so there's another, Javier gets, I think it's poison at the time, poison ends up dying, but Javier has him at gunpoint, and like another 9-year-old comes up and puts a gun at Javier and says, Lena, let the guy go. So those are really the major plot developments I remember of the show. Yeah. So that's what I remember. Again, major themes, I don't know, just a historical crime drama that I find pretty well done and entertaining. So overall, A-, certainly like it. And again, legalize drugs. If you don't want drug wars, legalize drugs. Where there is demand, there is a market. And no, values. Freedom and values, except no freedom, no values. Yeah. So again, I'm being fucking tortured, so I figured why not review another Netflix show. So thank you for watching my television review of Narcos Season 1 and see for Season 2. I think there's 3 seasons, I'll certainly watch this one's entertaining to me, so I'll certainly watch this. And again, not even a knock on the entertainment value of the show production, just the translation from Spanish to English is just mind-fuckingly, like, no, just stole off. So, those are my thoughts, thoroughly enjoyed it, thanks for watching, see you in the next one.